Hi there, and welcome to the latest Play Up podcast. And today we are recording on the International Day of Happiness. So I'm hoping for nothing but positivity and light-hearted discussion amongst my guests this evening. But bearing in mind the last two results, that's probably going to be pretty hard work. So once again, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by three fellow Pompey fans and very good pals. And first up, it's you, Reece Percival. You good, my friend?
I'm very well, thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good to hear from you, mate. And next up, it's Wingerman's nemesis, Phil Sands. You right, Phil?
Evening.
And lastly, it's the nicest man in the world of podcasting, Tim Harfield. How you doing, Tim?
I'm good, mate. Good evening.
Good. You may have a nasty streak when you talk about Plymouth, but we'll see. We'll see. So first up, a couple of weekends ago on a Sunday, Pompey hosted Leeds at home in front of the ITV/Sky cameras. So first up, it's very much the highs and lows. And after a fab February, we are well into muddled March. We can talk about the terrific win at home against title winners-elect Leeds United. So I think most fans were very much looking forward to the occasion, but did not have much hope for a result. With Wednesday night's visit of bottom-table Plymouth, there's a much easier chance of getting a few more points towards safety, as everyone thought. Leeds had the better of the chances in the first half. Dan James had a penalty shout waved away, although not many in the ground thought the challenge looked suspect. It was only the TV pundits who were really debating whether it was a mistake by referee Jones. And then Smith, who was excellent all game, produced a double save from Solomon and then Pirro to see Pompey go in at half-time 0-0. Pirro then missed another chance in the second half from close range when he launched the ball into the away fans in the Milton end after being set up by Solomon. And then Pompey produced the one chance they were looking for. Some good peeled-up play across the back gave the ball to Ogilvie in space, and his clipped ball into space found the Leeds backline square and static, and Bishop broke through to lift the ball over Meslier and into the net via a post. Fratton Park exploded, and an unlikely result seemed possible. Schmidt then again came to Pompey's rescue by blocking Firpo as he ran through on goal, and at the death tipped over a goal-bound effort from a corner. That terrific win at that point took Pompey 10 points clear of the relegation places, and a fair few pints were sunk in the pubs all over Pompey in celebration that Sunday afternoon. So there we go, Phil. That's a quick summary of that. What was a really, really good day, obviously. What were your thoughts about the game as a whole?
Well, first off, the signs were all against us, weren't they? I think we'd come off a pretty poor performance against Luton. Leeds were something like 20 games unbeaten. I'd predicted that Pompey would win, so the things didn't look good. But the sun was out. It was shut. It was like an August, sort of late August game, really. And I just think we came out with a real purpose in the game. We played with sort of a very high intensity, utilising that high press again. I think our tails were up. The atmosphere was as good as it's been for a home game in a long time. And I think credit to the Leeds fans as well, because they always travel in numbers and make a lot of noise. So it was a great performance. The penalty that should have been, I think I didn't even see it. I didn't even see anything happen at all. And then watching it, he literally has his legs kicked out from underneath him. So we dodged a bullet then. But things have gone against us in the past. We didn't let that put us off. And it was just a great performance all round. Bishop scored a very un-Bishop-like goal. Phenomenal ball forward from Ogilvie, which kind of went over the back of the fullback, and you don't expect to see Bishop sort of sprinting onto these things. He's more of a sort of a goal poacher, but he took it well. It seems to take an age to go in, From where I was sitting, up at the back of the Fratton end, we there's this sort of intake of breath as we waited for it to cross the line. But I thought we matched Leeds in pretty much every department. I think one of the things that shows the gulf of the sort of David and Goliath part of this is that if you look at the Pompey squad, cost approximately £2 million to assemble, possibly slightly less. Look at the Leeds one, you total up that Leeds squad, it's a few pence short of £120 million. So I mean that is in transfer costs alone, and that's a Premier League side, isn't it? Or a woefully overpriced Championship side. But Yeah, good day all round. And I thought any one of a number of players could have got man of the match. I think Schmidt deserved it, but you wouldn't hear an argument from me if one of the probably about 8 different players got the nod. Yeah, great afternoon, great fun, and the sort of feeling of, yeah, like you say, 10 points clear, and the feeling that nothing could possibly go wrong. We had a spring in our step, and we were going to ride out the month in dominant fashion. So all good, all good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for the goal, as soon as I got home, I had a free afternoon, so I watched whacked the ITV on and rewatched the game, and didn't even have a clue about the penalty shout, none whatsoever. It didn't, didn't seem to be there was any protest, that much protest by the Leeds players. Um, at the time, I hardly noticed it, and it was only when obviously I watched the ITV playback that then there was the talk about, oh well, if they had VAR that would have been a goal. It's like, well, we don't have VAR in the Championship, so what's the point of discussing it? For a start, our goal against Watford would have rightly been judged to be outside the box, and various other dubious decisions for and against us during the season would have been sorted out by VAR or not. But so it was a ridiculous thing to say by the TV people, because it's like, well, this is not Premiership game. It's not a lot later stage of the FA Cup. It's a Championship game, and the referee makes mistakes, and they're not rectified by video assistance. So, I mean, you talked about man of match. My man of match was probably Dazelle. During the game, I thought he had an absolutely storming game with his Ronaldo turn in the middle of the park at some
Oh,
point.
that was a thing of beauty, wasn't it?
It was. I watched that again and again and again, and I thought I was watching Prozinecki or someone or Diarra. He was always good for those close turns. So, Tim, who was your man of the match? Do you think? Did you agree with the Schmidt thing, or is there anyone you wanted to shout out for?
I think I agree with Phil saying it could have gone to anyone in that game, really. I think it was just absolutely brilliant, wasn't it? When they actually gave it to Schmidt, I have to admit, I was kind of probably so focused on how good we were outfield, defending, attacking the goal. I thought, Schmidt, oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, he's made a couple of good saves. And then when you see it back, you just realise just how many absolutely brilliant saves he made. So I think it was a fair man of the match in the end, but could have been Dazelle, could have been any number of the outfield players as well. Absolutely superb.
Yeah, and Reece, again, watching on the TV, it was they were a bit rude about the goal. They said it was direct and Route One, and it wasn't really, was it? It was a good pass into space by Ogilvy.
Yeah, I think so, and I think commentators these days they almost have to be a bit provocative to provoke some kind of debate or something like that. But um, it's football. You kick the ball and you get it in the net. There's various ways of doing it, and you've got to play to your strengths. And it was a fantastic. They weren't expecting it. I mean, the goalkeeper I think was hesitating. The defender just got nowhere near it. Bishop was on his kind of heels. He saw what was going on, and he got there before anybody else. He put the ball back in there, and as soon as it went in, I mean, you saw the goalkeeper have an absolute right go at his kind of centre back pairing but I think that's because it was such a good ball. It put an element of uncertainty in the defence, and I think they hesitated a little bit. Certainly, the goalkeeper did, which gave Bishop the chance to finish. And so, yeah. I mean, there are a few chances in the game, but I mean, it was only one that counts, and that's the one that goes in the back of the net.
Yeah,
I think if that had been Guardiola playing that ball down the left and Haaland running onto it, I don't think you'd have had people on Match of the Day telling us that Man City were Route One, would you?
No,
no,
exactly,
definitely not.
exactly.
No. Yeah, a bit of snobbery there, I think. But so just to wrap up the game there. So that obviously took us 10 points clear at that point. Phil, you mentioned about the resilience. What do you think was in that game that is, and we'll go on to discuss the next two games in a minute. What do you think was in that game that we've then lost in the subsequent two losses after that?
I think it's that big game thing, isn't it? When you look at Plymouth, we'll get onto Plymouth later, but if you look at how Plymouth played against Liverpool and Man City, I mean, the Plymouth we played barely recognisable from that. And I think big games, plus it's at home, the crowd were fantastic. Sun was shining. We got in their faces. We were aggressive, and we I just think we went into it with the right attitude. And I think, I mean, just before the game, my daughter was asking me about Leeds players who should watch. I said, you want to watch number 7, James. I said he's a cracking player, far too good for this league. I said he's got bags of pace. He's tricky. He's a fantastic player. Just watch him because she plays on the right wing. So I said, just watch him and see what he does. And half time she said, I hadn't noticed him, and that was I think that was credit to Ogilvie and Murphy who basically snuffed him out the game. So I think it was being up for the game, winning personal battles, and and also staying on the front foot. We didn't retreat into ourselves when Leeds had pressure. We were positive and everything you want from a home performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, you mentioned Plymouth, so unfortunately we've got to go on to that next. So next up was the home match with Plymouth, who was struggling at the foot of the Championship, and early on Pompey dominated possession and had a few chances, most notably through the lively Ashish. But it was Plymouth who scored first against the run of play, the ball being cleverly flicked into the path of Bundu by Hardy, and he smacked it past Schmidt. The second half saw Pompey dominate still, and a good chance from Bishop was deflected wide by Katic before another counter saw Plymouth double the lead. Pack, unfortunately, once again at fault as he inexplicably drove up the pitch, lost the ball, and then Hardy was played through one-on-one to finish past Schmidt. Pompey laid siege to the Plymouth goal, but missed a couple of great chances to get back into the game. Omani with the best, putting a free header wide from a Murphy cross. And Ashish got his reward for an industrious game when he fired an arrow of a shot into the top corner to give Pompey a chance with an amazing 10 minutes of injury time to go. But sadly, they didn't create another good chance, and Plymouth got their first away win in 20 games. Tim, as good as we were on the Sunday, just how poor and puzzling were we on the Wednesday?
Yeah, I think, got to the ground feeling sort of still ecstatic from the weekend, possibly even feeling a little bit kind of like one more win, maybe that could be us, we could be safe, we could be getting there. And then it all felt a little bit like after the Lord Mayor's show was a phrase I would use for that. It was a very, very different game, wasn't it, to Leeds as well. I mean, having so much possession, I think I looked it up earlier, we had something like 80% possession in that game, which is very different to what we've experienced most of the time this season. I thought Plymouth did a very good job on us, brought some loud fans down with them who really enjoyed their first win away of the season as well. I think they hadn't won a game at all since before Christmas, so it just shows kind of how much of a potential 3 points that is we've missed as well. But they did a really good job on us. They sort of doubled up on Murphy was what I could see. They really stopped us using that as an outlet, soaked it up, the pressure that is when we put it on them. I felt that kind of like we had a bit of a warning early on when I think it was Hardy, again, who back from injury, typically just in time for us. He always seems to have a good game against us. Had a great shot, and Schmidt made a good save. But at that point, you're thinking, it's all right, it's going to come eventually. We're going to unlock them. Though that warning sign was really there already, wasn't it? As you said, we did create some chances ourselves, quite a lot more, actually, I think, when you look back at the stats. But yeah, conceding just before half time. Nice little ball down the left, good flick from Hardy, and I think it was Bundu who put it in. At that point, I don't know what you guys were thinking, but I was thinking kind of like, I wonder if he's going to make any halftime substitutions. Are we going to do anything at that point? He didn't. I could probably see the logic behind it. We were in control of a lot of that first half, really, but to concede the goal. But it was only 4 or 5 minutes into the second half when it went 2-0. So at that point, it made some changes. I think it was Bramall came on. Richie went off as well for Cade Gordon, who I thought Gordon did okay when we gave him the ball on occasions, but there seemed to be plenty of times as well when he was in space, but we didn't give it to him. I don't know if he maybe wasn't quite in the right spaces for what they're practicing, or they don't quite have the faith in him yet to do what they need him to do. But it's all just felt of a bit of a disappointing game that was slipping through our fingers. And then obviously Ashish getting that goal after they had a player sent off. Good little run from Bramall trying to get in behind. I thought it might just been in the penalty area to start with, but it was worth having the free kick for it to come out to Ashish to hit that ball into the top right-hand corner. And then the 11 minutes went up, and suddenly you're there thinking, like, come on, we can snatch something out of this. But we never really looked like it, did we, at that bit in the end? So very, very deflating evening in the end, really. you're sort of trying to like not get too high after the Leeds game, not get too low after the Plymouth game, but that really did feel like a bit of a gut punch, didn't it? That one. We've taken no points from Plymouth, but 4 from Leeds.
Yeah, massive missed opportunity there, I think, and everybody knows that, not least Mousinho. But
yeah,
Reece, he's changed. So with 20, 30 minutes to go, he changed formation, took pack off, went to back three, 2 up front, lots of balls in and crosses into the box. But I don't remember in his 18 months or 20 months or he's been manager that ever working. So he seems to lack the ability at the moment. Maybe he'll learn that at some point to really change his fortunes late in a game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a hard one, isn't it? Because they parked the bus, and I mean, he was very, very honest in his post-match assessment where he said that he wasn't expecting them to play like that. And we definitely, I think even earlier in the season, we definitely perform better when teams come at us. And we've always had, or seem to have over many different managers, a challenge of breaking teams down that sit deep. I mean, the game reminded me of like one of the kind of League One games under Jacket where we just had total possession and maybe a bit of kind of last year under Mousinho where we just had possession all the time. But last year maybe the teams weren't quite as good, but we had that bit of quality to break them down. Whereas this time, actually, I thought, well, going 1-0 down, yeah, it was a tight game. I mean, it's a very good finish, but I thought we would get back into it. But again, it was a mistake. And there's no way that Pack is going to catch anybody. I mean, we know that's his Achilles heel. He's not particularly fast, and it probably wasn't Schmidt's greatest moment either. But I still felt we could, well, if we got a goal, we'd be able to get into the game. But it just didn't quite seem to come off for us. Yeah, I mean, that I think we had probably similar amount of chances, but that header from Mahoney, I mean, he had one chance in the game, didn't take it. Had one chance against Oxford and took it. So I was just so annoyed that they just did a number on us, and we just didn't really have an answer. And I think I don't know when you play against those teams, you've got to work the ball quicker, and I think you've got to even pot shots. You just somehow got to get the goal. But they had those two. I think they're Ukrainian centre backs, and they're very very good at heading the ball out. So maybe we just need to be a bit more savvy getting things on the deck. But yes, I mean, over the years I can't remember loads of times where managers have changed formation, but I do remember at Palace when I think maybe Claridge was our manager and we were 2-0 down, and we changed the formation. I think we won. I think also maybe when in the promotion season when we were playing when Redknapp was in charge, I'm pretty sure we were 2-0 down, and then he changed it and we won 3-2, and that was kind of catalyst for us winning the league. So I like the cut of his jib. I like the way he talks. Maybe he just we I think we thought somebody at the beginning of the season, maybe a bit of a tactician, somebody a bit more experienced might help him, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. It was one game. It was just really frustrating that they were terrible. I mean, every time they got the ball, they were hoofing it long. I mean, just to clear it. So, but it worked, and that's probably the most frustrating thing for me.
Do you think they were clever, Phil, and targeted Pack?
No, I don't think they're clever at all. I think I've got to say, I think it's an indictment of how poor we were.
Yeah,
I thought that Plymouth were comfortably the worst team we've seen all
yeah.
season. They will get relegated. I doubt we've got any Plymouth fans listening on this. They will get relegated. We will not be playing them next season, and I, for one, will be happy about that.
Well, Tim mentioned the stats, and it was 80.5% possession and 16 shots. So, how many of those were on target from Pompey? Only 3 on target. I mean, that's not good enough, is it? You know, even if we weren't chasing the game, the quality of the strikes clearly weren't good enough. So there we go. Really disappointing after the Sunday. So we'll go on to Saturday's game, which was Preston. So last Saturday there was a long trip to Preston to see if Pompey could add a third win away from home this season. Cassini Yengi got his first start this year after a return from injury to partner Bishop, who looks to be playing in a withdrawn 10 role. It was a very poor but open first half. Pompey having the best of the chances, but not drawing a save from the keeper. Preston made 4 changes at half-time, which summed up their performance and the thoughts of Preston boss Paul Heckingbottom. And Bramall, on for his first start at left-back, was a whisker away from putting Pompey ahead with a 30-yard shot that hit the bar and bounced out. It was only an inch or two from really being the goal of the season. After that, Preston took the lead with a free kick that was not dealt with in the air on 2 occasions, with Porteous tapping in at the far post. Pompey levelled up from a corner with 10 minutes to go. Bishop lost his man from a Murphy corner and stabbed him from 6 yards. And it looked like Pompey might be able to go on to win the game. But after that, according to Mousinho, Pompey lost their minds. They completely failed to keep their shape and see out the game. Schmidt made a point-blank save, and then the defence was a mess, allowing Torderson to wander past Ogilvie from a long ball round the keeper to give Preston the win with a great finish. Mousinho was furious after the game and revealed he had ripped into his team, saying he'd been too nice for too long. So there you go, Reece. Pick the bones out of that. Has Mousinho been too nice for too long? He has given some rollickings post-match at some of our away humpings in the past.
I think, well, maybe he has. I mean, you and I had a brief chat about this in the week, and I think sometimes I think whenever a manager comes in, you generally defend your players and you keep your bollock or your should I say your strong
You can say
words.
bollocks.
Okay,
You can say bollocks, Reece.
bollocking behind closed doors. But there's so many times you can say that, and I think this is not the first time he has said that he has given players instructions, they've not followed them, and I think maybe this was just one too much. And I think in this modern game, especially with the kind of top end players who are you've got egos to manage, and you've read some of the managers saying these days you can't give people a bollocking as much as you used to. You have to think if they get upset too much, their egos get bruised, and you don't get the best out of the players. But actually, on this occasion, I think he was right, and I think that there has to be a kind of a line in the sand at some point. I think if this is the first time it had happened, I think yeah, you could probably say, okay, you should have maybe kept it in, but this is not the first time it's happened, or he said it's happened, and we've lost our discipline, and we haven't stuck to the game plan. And so I think he was right to publicly say it. He was clearly frustrated. I mean, he's been frustrated at Burnley. I mean, he's been frustrated at a few other games where we've kind of lost or points in the last minute. And I just think also the fact that we were so good in the first half, and we were dominant. You're absolutely right. We didn't necessarily make the keeper do anything, but we were. It was our game. I mean, there was no chance they would getting into it. We were totally dominant, and then to give a horrible ball away. It was a poor goal. But to get back into it as well showed a lot of character. But then to give it away in the very dying kind of parts of the game against a probably pretty poor team as well. I think probably just got to him, and quite rightly, he said it's going to be a miserable week for them. So yeah, maybe they do need to have a bit of a rocket up the backside just so that the message gets through. Because a coach can tell players to do this, do that. At some point, it is up to the players to listen and to do the things that you need to do. Yes, you can say, well, ultimately it will be the manager's responsibility based on results. But actually, how many times have you heard old players have let so and so down when a manager leaves? And I think there is an element to that. But it was a positive atmosphere. It was a fantastic away support. I mean, I was at the game and having a few drinks afterwards, and the locals were can't say by far, without doubt, the best away following all season, bar none, which is really humbling to hear. But it still wasn't 3 points. So yeah, I totally get where he's coming from, and I think he was right to give them a rocket up the arse. The problem is if it doesn't go in, you're going to get to the point. Well, okay, well, what's the next thing you do? Do you start going down the Allen Ball of some of these players will never play for Pompey ever again? Let's just hope this works, and they do carry out his instructions.
Yeah. Well, I'm still furious.
Yeah,
I know.
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm still furious, and furious with Mousinho, rightly or
Yeah.
wrongly. I personally, I think he could have changed as soon as we scored the goal. He could have changed formation to be more compact in the midfield, play a bit more deeper. But it was a very open game. It was. I mean, although we had much better the first half, it was still quite end to end. And I didn't, as soon as we equalised, I said on the WhatsApp chat, we're either going to win this or lose this. I couldn't see it being a draw. I could see us nicking a winner, but also I could see us giving it away, and we gave it away.
Yeah,
So
the trouble is, though, I think if you speak to Pompey fans, most of them will say we'd rather lose trying than kind of sitting back. And I think you think of games over the years. When was it Jacket when we were playing Coventry at home and we were 3-1 up and they had 9 men and he bought another defender on and we drew 3-3. And I think just sometimes when you go defensive, it almost changes the psyche of the team, and you start inviting players on. I personally, I just don't like it. I don't like it. Sometimes it works, obviously. Other times it doesn't. But I would rather be positive but disciplined, not gung ho, and that probably is what Mousinho was alluding to on Saturday.
yeah, well, before we go to Phil in a sec, it's interesting what he said after the Plymouth game. So I read a quote today about it, which I didn't see originally after the Plymouth game, was that he said, yes, it was frustrating we didn't score in the first half. Yes, it was frustrating we had a lot of the ball, but you don't be silly. You don't lose your shape, chase the game. If it ends up being 0-0 because you can't score, it ends up being 0-0 when you get a point. So I don't understand why that if that thought was in his head after Wednesday, why it then didn't carry on until Saturday and we didn't shut up shop and take a point after equalising. So Phil, what did you want to say?
I was going to back Reece up actually, and I just thought when we beat Leeds 1-0, we didn't sit back on 1-0 against Leeds. We carried on taking the game to them, and it worked. So I don't necessarily think we then need to change that and shut up shop against Preston. You know, I think.
But that's against the backdrop of our absolutely rancid form away from home. As you said rightly, against Leeds, we had the crowd, we had the momentum, we had the positivity. Against Preston, when we equalised, we probably went, "Oh, thank God for that." It's a different game, but I very much take your point.
But I don't like. I'm like Reece. I don't like watching us drop deep because we always seem to drop 10 yards deeper. We invite teams onto us, and we pressure ourselves into making mistakes. And admittedly, we made mistakes in this game, but I don't necessarily think we did the wrong thing against Preston tactically, but I think they're individuals that I think, as the manager alluded to, didn't do their job properly.
Tim, who do you think they were? Who do you think he was calling out? I'm not sure. It's difficult to see on the replay of the goal. You see sort of Torderson come into shot and then disappear, and then you see Ogilvie chasing him. So I don't know. I don't know whether he's talking about Ogilvie, whether he's talking about the midfield. He mentioned about not fouling when the ball was in midfield. Who do you think he was probably pointing the finger at then?
I'm not sure actually. I was probably a bit different. I was probably a little bit surprised that he did come out and say that actually afterwards. I think it's one of those things of I don't know who you could specifically point the finger at. You know, if you're going for kind of like a specific move where we've lost the ball or broken it down or anything. I think it was one of those games where, you know, if we had kind of like brought defenders on at the end and played for that point and then lost 2-1, he'd have been crucified for that. I think if obviously we went for it, if we'd have ended up getting the point, people would have said like, "That's great, you've done the right thing there," sort of thing. So I don't know. I'm not too sure who he would have been saying there. Really, I mean, do you think our midfield was a bit weak in that second half compared to what we've been like recently?
Oh, sorry, Tim. I think he was referring to the first goal when he said about not doing their job, because that was the one where they hit on the break.
Yeah.
And he wanted someone to stop play basically.
No, it was the second goal. So
no,
if you watch, the first one came from a free kick. The free kick was on the halfway line and then launched to the back stick, and we missed 2 headers. So it's definitely the second goal. You could see from the replay. There's about 4 or 5 Pompey players round the ball, like an under-7 side, and and then Ogilvie seems to be 1-on-1 at the back with possibly Preston's slowest player. So I don't know how he got got past him, to be honest, for the ball that was punted over the top. But there we go. This, Tim, is why you're the nicest man in podcasting. You're not prepared. You're not prepared to point the finger at anyone.
I'm going to fully back Mousinho all the way. You know where I stand on
Well,
this.
I do. I just think he needs. If we do stay up,
Oh, yeah.
he needs to learn things like he needs to learn things about applying some of the things he says in other games, in certain games about we were all relieved when we got the equaliser, and a point at that point would have been absolutely fantastic, even though we had played well enough possibly to win it. But I just think he does need to learn, and that's not surprising since he's only been a manager for 20 months.
It was just.
Anyway, Phil,
I was just about
Reece,
to say it was probably also worth noting actually that the change in team, because this is the first time we play Ogilvy at centre back, if I recall correctly, and
yes,
Bramall at left back,
Yeah.
and I say I'm not saying it was a bad choice, but I think clearly he probably had noticed Pack's discretion at Plymouth and changed it. And I thought it kind of worked, but yeah, it was the first time we had done that. So another centre back pairing. There'll be a question for the listeners: how many centre back pairings have Pompey had this season? And it's easily in double figures, isn't it?
Well, before we go on to the quiz, I want to absolutely, applaud that effort from Bramall. Literally, I was about 3 feet off my seat when that hit the bar. I launched myself into the air because I thought I hadn't seen a shot like it for ages. I know Murphy's cracked a few from 20 odd yards, but that was such a long way out. And he was off the ground himself when he hit it. He skipped into the ball and bang, and it curled and arced and just about caught the corner stanchion and stayed out. I was like, if that had gone in, definitely goal of the season for me, no question.
He's quick, isn't he, Bramall, as well? He's very quick.
Yeah.
He's a strange old player, though, isn't he? Because sometimes he shows these moments of absolute brilliance, and particularly with his crossing, and then other moments he just seems to freeze and wait for things to happen rather than create. I guess that's why he's gone from sort of criticism of him, but I guess it's why he's gone from a team like Arsenal, where he sort of learnt his trade and hasn't really fulfilled that potential, because there's just obviously it's a little bit missing from his game, but encouraging. I'll be interesting to see what happens next season, whether we decide to make his move permanent.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I've said that before, not necessarily on the podcast, but to people before. I think the difference as you go up the leagues is the intensity and that ability to concentrate for 90 minutes. We saw it in League Two. Sometimes in periods in the game, nothing would happen for 10 or 15 minutes because you could see all of the players taking a mental breather because they just couldn't cope with the intensity of the game, and then they get back on it and things would happen. Whereas as you go up the leagues, and as you rightly said when we first came into this league, oh my God, it was so quick and strength and intensity and an organisation, and that's what you get. So perhaps that's been Bramall's problem all through his career. He just hasn't got that ability to concentrate throughout a whole game and apply himself for 90 odd minutes, and that's why he's gone down to League One with Rotherham. But he's certainly got talent. As you said, Tim, he's one of the quickest players I've seen. He's quicker even than Murphy, I think. But anyway, Phil, quiz time. Let's go for some fun.
Quiz time. So this week I have decided to have a little game called Play Your Caps Right. That should cue some music coming in, but I'm not that fun. So basically, over the years, Pompey have had some top internationals grace the league. So I thought what we'd do is we'd do a higher or lower number of caps. Simple as that.
Brilliant.
And to make it fair, each one of you has got players from the same countries, and you're going to go from England to Australia, seeing as Australia is now our hotbed of recruitment, with higher and lower. So, looking at my screen, I'm going to start with Tim.
Is it
Are
caps
you ready,
whilst
Tim?
at Pompey or caps
Anywhere
but played for Pompey? Right, okay.
Anywhere they've played. So, I'm going to try and do this at some pace here. So, I just want you quick fire answers. So, we're going to start off with Mark Hateley, and I'll just let you guess, Tim, how many England caps Mark Hateley got. You don't have to guess anyone else, but I think start it off. How many caps do you think Mark Hateley got?
Ooh, I don't know. Not a huge number. I'm going to say 15.
32.
Oh, okay.
So from Mark Haighton, we are now, you can go to Wales or Scotland?
Wales.
Wales. Barry Horn, higher or lower?
I reckon that's going to be higher.
It is higher, 59 caps. Now you can either go to Scotland or the Republic of Ireland.
Let's go Scotland.
Oh, we're off to Scotland. Richard Hughes.
That's got to be less.
It is less, 5 caps. So now
Too
you're going
easy.
you're either going to Republic of Ireland or Jamaica.
Ooh, let's go Republic of Ireland.
Republic of Ireland, Steve Finnan.
He must have had more than 5, surely. He was at
got more
Liverpool
than
for a few
5.
years. Yeah.
53.
Yeah.
Now you're off to Jamaica or Greece.
Let's go Jamaica.
Off to Jamaica, Fitzroy Simpson. Higher or lower than 53?
Ooh. I'm going to go higher.
Ah, the run is broken. Only 43. It was lower. So from Jamaica, you can go to Greece or Nigeria.
Let's go Greece.
To Greece. Angelos Bassinas. Higher or lower than 43?
He played, I remember him playing a little bit for us. I've got a funny feeling he might have had a lot more, actually, because he might have been part of that good Greece team. Was it 2000 or something like that? I'm going to go higher.
You're right, higher. 100 caps.
Wow, didn't realize it was that
Centurion.
many.
So you can now go Nigeria or Croatia.
I'm going to go Croatia.
Croatia, Nico Kranjčar.
Less. Lower.
Lower. 81 caps, correct.
81.
So now you can go to Nigeria or France.
Let's go Nigeria.
Nigeria, Yakubu.
81 that we're going for at the moment, isn't it? So he probably played a lot, but I'm going to go less than that, lower.
You are correct. Less. We're at 58. Off to France now. Laurent Lebert.
Lower.
Lower, correct. 9. Only 9 caps.
Oh, was it only 9? Okay.
Yeah. And now you're off to Portugal. Pedro Mendes. Higher or lower?
He's got to have had more than 9, hasn't he? Higher.
Higher. Only 1. Only 2
No
more. 11
way.
caps. So finally, about to land in Australia with Craig Foster.
I'm gonna go higher than 2.
Higher than 11.
11, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. 29. You scored
29.
a fantastic 9 out of 10. So the pressure's on, boys. The pressure's on, boys. Scott,
Nice.
You're up next.
That was great.
Starting off with Glenn Johnson. How many caps do you think Glenn Johnson got for England?
I'm going to go for 65.
Not a bad guess. 54. So, do you want to go to Wales or Scotland?
Scotland.
Scotland. Nigel Quasi. Nigel
Less.
McQuasi. Less. Yes, that's 14. So higher than 14. 14. So do you now want to go to Wales or Republic of Ireland?
Wales.
You want to go to Wales? Kit Simons.
Oh, that's got me close. I'm going to go slightly higher.
Yeah, 37 caps for Kit Simons.
Good old Kit.
So now off to either Republic of Ireland or Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Dion Burton.
What was the last number?
37.
I'm going to go less.
62 caps he got.
Wow, well done, Dion.
So then Republic of Ireland or Greece?
Republic of Ireland.
Off to Republic of Ireland, Alan McLaughlin.
Less.
Less, correct, 42 caps. So now you're off to Greece or Nigeria?
Greece.
Kostas Chalkias.
Oh, much less.
32, only 10 has somehow got 32 international caps.
32, that's ridiculous.
Okay, now you can go to either Nigeria or Croatia.
Nigeria, please.
Kanu.
Oh, higher.
Yeah, 86 caps. So Croatia or France?
Croatia.
Croatia, Robert Prozinecki.
Oh, higher.
No, it's lower, 49.
Really? Oh, is that because there's Yugoslavia as well?
I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
So Robert Prozinecki, Croatia, 49 caps. So now France or Portugal?
France, please.
After France, Lassana Diarra.
Lower, 49, is it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go higher.
Higher. He was lower, I'm afraid, 34.
Wow.
And now off to Portugal, Ricardo Rocha.
I don't remember him playing for Portugal. I'm going to go lower.
You're correct, 6 caps. And then finally, Australia, John Aloisi.
Oh, higher than 6.
Absolutely. 55 caps.
Yay!
So, Scott, you scored 7. Reece, you need a
Okay.
full house to
Oh,
win, mate.
well, no pressure then.
We're starting off with the big man, Peter Crouch. How many caps do you think he got for England?
Oh, 47.
Oh, so close, 42.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So, do you want to go to Wales or Scotland?
Scotland, please.
Off to Scotland. Mark Birchall.
Less than 42, surely.
Correct, 6. Do you want to go to Republic of Ireland or Wales?
Wales, please.
Off to Wales with Joe Morrell.
Oh, got to be more than 6, surely.
Yep, 37.
Yeah.
So now do you want to go to the Republic of Ireland or Jamaica?
Oh, Jamaica, please.
Jamaica, Paul Hall.
Oh, more than 37.
It was 48. Now Republic of Ireland or Greece?
Oh, Republic of Ireland.
Republic of Ireland. Enda Stevens.
40, what's it, 40?
48 was Paul
Okay,
Hall.
lower.
Lower, correct, 26. Now off to either Greece or Nigeria.
Oh, let's do Greece.
So Greece, Theophanis Gekas.
Oh, higher.
Correct, 78
Ooh.
caps, but only one appearance for Portsmouth. So you can now go to Nigeria or Croatia.
Nigeria, please.
Johnny Tarker.
Oh, lower than 70 something, yeah.
Correct, 44.
Okay.
Croatia or France?
France, please.
Eunice Kabul.
Oh, lower.
Correct, 5. Eunice Kabul. So now we're off to either Croatia or Portugal.
Croatia, please.
To Croatia, Boris Zivkovic.
Oh, I'll I'll go higher, but purely on
Correct.
percentages.
Yeah, 39.
Okay.
So now Portugal,
Portugal, okay.
Manuel Fernandes.
Oh, I just about remember here. I'm going to go lower.
You're correct. So that's 15 he got. So basically, you're now about to arrive in Australia.
Okay.
All the pressure's on. You get this, Reece. You take away the top prize.
So,
Uh,
what number? Just so clear, what number is it?
Manuel Fernandes had 15 caps.
15. Okay.
Hayden Fox.
Oh, he played more than 15, surely.
You're going higher.
Yeah.
Okay, you're through on goal, Reece. Just the keeper to beat. And you put it wide. Only 11 for Hayden Fox. So we got a tie there between Tim and Reece, and a spirited third place for Scott.
Well done, Tim.
Thanks for
That was
that.
brilliant.
That was brilliant.
They're very good.
Well done, everyone. Gosh, we had some good players, didn't we? At one point. Before we wrap up, so I think Reece, you wanted to talk about player of the season, but I think everyone's answer is going to be Mark Murphy, isn't it? Or has anyone got a
Who's
second
Mark
or
Murphy?
third? No. I think it is. So Murphy is probably most people's choice, I would have thought. Do we have a second or third that can catch him in the next 8 games?
I am not so convinced by this because undoubtedly he was amazing at Sheffield United, without a shadow of a doubt. But he was. This is why he plays for us. His brother plays for Newcastle. He's been since that game. He's been yes, he had 1 or 2, but he's so inconsistent, and I think that's part of the frustration. And I mean, this is more of just starting a discussion of who do we think is actually in the mix. But I mean, I think there's a little bit possibly for Schmidt, but he hasn't played all of the season. I think Potts maybe. Bishop, you can't really say because he missed a good third of the season. As I said, my left field suggestion is Ogilvie, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but for somebody who is clearly not going to be first choice at left back, who came from Gillingham, who was just yes, he has made mistakes. I do not debate that, but he has also been, I think, our most consistent player. You know exactly what you're going to get with him. He's turned up in big games. Is he our second or third highest scorer? He's got some really important goals. He also missed a sitter against Luton, but I think it's been such a kind of difficult season with injuries and things. Yes, Murphy has had amazing games, but I just think he hasn't been consistent enough. So at the moment, I am leaning towards Ogilvie.
Cool. Okay, Tim, who do you think might snatch it from maybe Murphy or Ogilvie or Schmidt in the next 8 games? Who's going to step up?
So it's an interesting one for the season, because I know what you mean with Schmidt and Bishop as well. They haven't played the whole season. Both been brilliant when they've have come in though. Um, it's a difficult one because some of the players that I kind of really particularly like seeing on the pitch are people like Terry Devlin, who hasn't necessarily had a huge amount of time on the pitch, but I just love him when he comes on. I think he's brilliant. It was great, he plays where he wants, sort of thing. When that was going on, came on
Yeah.
playing more further forward. Um, yeah, it's difficult because that whole back four's been kind of changed so much this season. There's been plenty of times when we've been totally overrunning midfield and times when we've had nothing going up front. I think Lang would have been another great shout for it, but obviously his injuries sort of taking him out of it. He would have been another one who would have been right up there in the mix for it. So it could be one of those end of season awards where it goes to quite a few different players, I think, rather than just one runs away with it, which is what sometimes happens. It's difficult to say, really. I mean, thinking about the start of the season, obviously Dazell's been great recently as well. Wasn't necessarily particularly brilliant at the start of the season, but then nor was anybody in that first couple of months. I think there's a good, you could make a kind of a good argument for quite a few of them, and a lot of that could rest on who sort of does the vital things over these coming remaining games, really. I mean, if Schmidt ends up saving us and gaining us quite a few points, he's suddenly going to be right up there, isn't he? Even though he hasn't played the entire season. Bishop suddenly gets a little scoring run, he's going to be up there again. Murphy bangs a couple of those lovely outside of the box curlers with the right foot in. It's a real difficult one. Could go to a number of people, I think.
Phil?
Sammy Silvera.
Yeah,
No, I mean, I can't look past Josh Murphy at all. He'll wind winger man up no end. So
That
that's a
it will.
definite plus. But yeah, I can't see past him, to be honest. I think Ogilvy's a good shout. He's most number of appearances this season, and he wouldn't necessarily predicted that. He's a good shout. I think Dazell's one that sort of proved the critics wrong. Callum Lang, it's disappointing. It's such a shame that his season's been sort of curtailed in the way it has. But yeah, I can't see past Murphy.
Okay, yeah, I think it will be Murphy. But I think my point is that I think we need 2 or 3 players to really step up in the next 8 games and have some cracking performances if we're going to get these points. So that takes us on to the next couple of games. Obviously, we've got a week and a half to wait for Blackburn. What's your predictions for Blackburn and Millwall? Because we're probably going to have to wait 3 weeks before we do another pod because there's a fallow week. What we'll start with you, Phil. What do you think? Do you think we'll recover? Will we have a Leeds rather than a Plymouth performance against Blackburn?
I think the break's going to do us good because I think there was apart from the poor performances, I think that Leeds game really took it out of the players, and you could see there were a few players that were sort of running on fumes. So I think it's good chance to get on the training ground, put some things right. I think we'll go out. I think we'll do a number on Blackburn. I really do. I think it could be a not a battering necessarily, but I think we'll win that quite comfortably.
Well, you were right about Leeds. Let's hope you're right about that. What about Millwall?
I was also, if you remember, I was also right about Plymouth, unfortunately.
Yes, yes, you were. So bearing in mind you got those 2 right, what do you think for Millwall?
Millwall. Do you know what? It would be a nice away win to chalk up because it's always good to go places like that and pick up a win. But I think we might go there and get a point.
Yeah, I think it's a shot. It depends on what their result is in a couple of weekends' time, because they're only on 51 points, and if they lose that, then they could be 13, 14 points off of the playoff places, and they might put their slippers on and go off to the beach for the rest of the season. Tim, what do you think for next 2 games?
I'm really hoping that we can get back to winning ways against Blackburn. I think I'm really hoping that the kind of home game against Plymouth was just a blip in one of those games and just a very different game. I think Blackburn will probably come down here and try and have a go at us. We can hopefully sort of press them and go back to that sort of a style of play that's been working for us at home. So I really think that we have got an opportunity to get a win there. Millwall away, they've beaten us a couple of times at home, haven't they, this season? So obviously at Fratton Park. So I'm expecting a difficult game there. I think it's a case of I hope we can get the home win, and I hope that we can kind of get a point away at Millwall. think that would be fantastic if we can get that.
Reece?
Well, cometh the hour, cometh the Milosevic. I think he's going to be the signing of the player to step up. I think he's going to form a majestic, intuitive, telepathic centre back partnership with Paul, and I think we're going to get 2 wins. And I think he'll just all the worry will dissipate, and I think we'll do really really well. I think we get 6 points. In reality,
Well, that
he'll get sent off in the first 10 minutes, or do his calf, or do his heel, do his I don't know, left shoulder blade in about the first 15 minutes, go off, a career-ending injury, and we'll be back to pack and pull event. So I hope it's not that, but yeah, I've got some hopes for him. So he sounds like a really decent player, tall guy. I think he'll complement Paul well. He just hopefully he's can get up to the pace of the championship.
Yeah, well, we've had too many centre-back partings so far this season, so it would be nice if we had some partnerships for the last 8 games. I think the opportunity to beat Blackburn is good. They're on a poor run of form, but then we tend to come up against teams who are on poor runs of forms and give them an easy 3 points. Not as clean cut as it could be, but we could take advantage of their slump. And a point against Millwall would be great. It depends. It depends how the game goes. As we saw against the home game, if they score first, we really struggle to score against defensive teams like that, or teams that are well organised at the back with very very tall, strong defenders. So I think in both games, I think it's key we score first, and then we hopefully will get results. And then if it is 2 wins, Reece, then that's us on 48 points, and we are pretty much safe, I think. So fingers crossed we don't have to worry through April about where our next point is going to come from. Thank you very much, gents. Thanks, Phil, for the quiz. It's been a really good episode again. Like I said, we'll probably go again in 3 weeks' time rather than 2, because there'll only be one game to talk about, and we can't babble for 45, 50 minutes just on one game. So this has been the Play Up Podcast. Thank you very much for listening, if you have, and we will be back in 3 weeks. Play Up Pompey, and let's hope we get a couple of wins. Cheers, guys.
Cheerio.